guys, Robot1 here, and welcome to Konami Fix the Banlist, a segment on my channel where we talk about cards that are currently on the ban list, not on the ban list, somewhere on the ban list, and talk about if they need to either be put in the ban section, moved up or down the ban list, and generally have a discussion about the card in general. Now, today we're going to be talking about a card that should have been probably banned on the last ban list, but Konami were like, oh, well, we're not going to be banning anything on this list. Well, there's not really any Yu-Gi-Ohs going around in the real Yu-Gi-Oh competitive scene, even though there are all these online tournaments going on that we keep seeing multiple tournament results for them. So Konami are like, no, let's ignore them and go ahead and make a ban list that just gives us back multi-figure, unicorn, and Autocon Hawk. Thanks Konami, by the way, for the Autocon Hawk. I really loved it, and I've been playing Ritual Beasts. But nonetheless, we didn't get a ban list, and I felt like, hey, seeing as we haven't got a ban list, why not start up Konami Fix the Banlist again, so we can talk about cards that should have really been banned, and give Konami a bit of ideas on their next ban list. So, without further ado, let's actually get into this and start talking about some cards that should have been banned on the ban list. And the first card that we're going to be talking about in this episode of Konami Fix the Ban List is Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. Now, Dragon Buster Destruction Sword is a very simple card. It's a card from the Buster Blader archetype that was released all the way back in Bosch. I can't remember the exact set name. Is it even on the wall over there? It might be. I don't know. I can't see it. No, Breakers of Shadows was its name, though. Then I remember it. It was Breakers of Shadows. And honestly, this card, when it first came out, was pretty much nothing. It was like literally, oh, I just exist. I don't really do anything. I'm just here for the Buster Bladed deck, and I'm not really going to do much half the time. But in all honesty, this card wouldn't have been good in the game if it wasn't for specific cards coming out in the game quite recently, all the way back in Duel Overload, which was just before everything happened. And pretty much what I'm saying here is because of that set, we got a card called Union Carrier. And Union Carrier basically is the thing that has turned a Destruction Sword right here into one of the most insane cards in the game, and one of the most broken cards in the game, because it literally says your opponent cannot special summon from the extra deck. And a card that says your opponent can't summon from the extra deck is inherently broken if it's easy to access in the game and can be used in multiple different decks. Now, why am I saying this card needs to be banned though? Because obviously, if Union Carrier, if you just have this and Union Carrier and like some random dark monster, that's fine. You can literally just MST it. You can get around it through multiple means, but the thing is, this card is actually being used in multiple different deck strategies, and because of the way those strategies work, this card is normally very, very hard to out. Looking at some of these strategies right now, just off the top of my head, Adamancipator, you literally go through the entire Adamancipator combo, end on Union Carrier and literally Boral Savage, equip the Destruction Sword to the Boral Savage so your opponent can't summon from the extra deck, and honestly, if your opponent has anything to go along with that, say they have Dark Ruler No More or anything along those lines, well, they've got the Destruction Sword, so you can't summon from your extra deck anyway to try and break their board. And that's kind of one of the things that I wanted to talk about as well, because, well, there are ways to stop decks in the game, but this card just literally says, well, even if you have ways to stop cards in the game, stop me from having like all my negates with like card like Dark Ruler No More, well, you can have that one card, but if you can't get rid of my Destruction Sword, then you're not going to be able to summon from the extra deck, you're not going to be able to go further from there, you're not going to be able to do anything along those lines. And literally, because of a card like Union Carrier exists, and this card exists, it just makes a very unbalanced way of playing the game, because literally, all you've really got to do in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now is win the dice roll, go first, equip this to a monster and have like 1 or 2 negates, and your opponent 9 times out of 10 won't be able to do anything, because, well, you've equipped the Buster Whelp to your monster, so they can't play the game and they can't go further from there. So when you're looking at Destruction Sword, it really, really does just break the game in certain ways, because it's another way of saying, well, I can have all of these negates, but I've got an additional floodgate that you can't get over. And because of it's not even considered a monster while in the spell and trap card zone, because of Union cards are typically counted as equip spells, this card can't even be affected by cards like Dark Ruler No More, so this card is literally untouchable 9 times out of 10, especially seeing as a lot of decks aren't actually playing any back row removal, so you're not even able to play cards to get around the Destruction Sword 9 times out of 10, because of all your back row removal will most likely be in your side deck, not in your main deck. So, and if you're playing against a combo deck and your opponent chooses to side this card, because they expect that you're putting in Dark Ruler no more, you're not going to be putting in like your Cosmic Cyclones, your Mystical Space Typhoons, your Lightning Storms, your Twin Twisters. You're not going to be putting those in against a combo deck along the lines of Adamantipator or something along those lines, because you're not going to use that card, those types of cards, to stop your opponent from playing the game. Now, looking at it in this way, cards like Destruction Sword right here just are very inherently broken. And looking throughout Yu-Gi-Oh's history, cards such as this have been in the game and have done a lot of broken things. Off the top of my head, thinking right off the bat, we've got a card like Domain of the Monarchs. That card literally said if you controlled a tribute summoned monster and your opponent does not, they can't summon from the extra deck. So you literally had no way to play the game half the time if your opponent controlled a tribute summoned monster. That card wasn't ever banned, but literally Monarchs were destroyed at one point because of, they can just combo off. They combo Monarchs was a thing. They then activate Domain so your opponent can't play the game, and then from there they just kind of like stop you from winning at all. So you're very in an unbalanced situation. Other cards similar to this that just prevent you from special summoning, Vanity's Emptiness, is a card that literally said, you can't special summon whatsoever, you don't have any ways to get rid of me, so you literally just lose there because of, you can't special summon. Now, obviously, Destruction Sword doesn't have that kind of inherent effect, such as Vanity's Emptiness, that says you cannot special summon, but it's kind of the same thing when you really think about it, because almost every deck that relies on special summoning right now relies around the extra deck methods of special summoning. Now, looking at decks off the top of my head that literally are in the meta right now and revolve around special summoning from the extra deck, Elder Lich combo, 1 Despot 001 for full combo potential. Now, obviously, Elder Lich can get rid of this a lot easier, but hear me out. Adamantipator, they literally need their extra deck to play the game. If they don't have the extra deck, they can't do anything. Ritual Beasts as one of those decks that came back. If they can't make Ulti Hawk, they can't play the game at all from there. Literally, even Necros to an extent. Literally, they rely on like the Despot 0/0 combo to summon like Herald of the Arclights and other sorts of things to kind of play from there. Like there's just Salaman Great. I have my Destruction Sword. Well, you can't play the game because I need my extra deck. You need your extra deck. So literally, looking at all the decks in the format, Destruction Sword literally just says, well, you can have your Dark Ruler no more. You can have your ways to stop my Floodgate monster, my monster negate effects on the board, but if I equip Destruction Sword with the Union Carrier onto a Boral Savage or a Dark Dragon or another Dark Monster that I currently have on the board, well, you're not going to be able to play the game. So good luck with that, I guess. Like, you're not going to be able to do anything. So it's just like looking at little things like these and looking at a card such as Destruction Sword right here that really had no meta relevance in the game until Union's Carrier existence. Like, literally, this card was never really utilized in any deck because you could only equip it to a Buster Blader, has just really broken the game to an extent where you can have all these negates. You can have all these negates on top of negates, and have a Dark Rule no more in your hand, but if they equip one Destruction Sword, you're still not going to be able to do anything. So honestly, Destruction Sword kind of does need to be banned because it really just, looking at it in a nutshell, it just promotes degeneracy in the game to quite a bit, being the fact that it stops you from being able to summon from the extra deck, so you can't really do anything from there. So no extra deck means no combo players from your extra deck. And also, if you do have a card like Dark Ruler no more, and you can then go off after you've used the Dark Ruler no more, well, if they've got the Destruction Sword, you can't really do anything. So what's the point in having a way to play the game with a cards like Dark Ruler no more or a Floodgate or a Kaiju to kind of, well, if you got Kaiju, you're going to Kaiju over the Destruction Sword, so that's a kind of a moot point there. But the points are, if you have a way to play the game and they've got the Destruction Sword on the board and you've kind of stopped all of their outs, but then you still can't summon from the extra deck, so you can't actually go ahead and make your way to break the board, then it's just a card that says, well, back and forth play is just not going to really happen a lot, so, well, what's the point? But guys, that's just my thoughts on Destruction Sword right there. It's a card that basically says, no extra deck plays. If you have a way to stop my board outside of the Destruction Sword, then you can't really play the game. So I feel like this is a card that definitely does kind of need to be banned, because it does kind of like promote a lot of the degeneracy in the game, for the fact that it just says, oh, you can't play the game whatsoever, and cards that say you can't play the game are not really fun in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! But guys, what do you personally think of this card? Do you think this card should be banned? Do you think this card should stay in the game? Do you think this card is actually fair and balanced and kind of just helps with those kind of combo decks that kind of need it a bit? Tell me what your thoughts are of that in the comment section below, and if there's anything else you would like to see on Konami Fix the Banlist, cards that you might want to see banned, cards that you think should be banned, hey, maybe I'll make a video if I agree with your opinion on it, because like, honestly, there are always cards that kind of need to go at times, and I'd like to kind of talk about them in this segment. So guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Raw About 1 signing out, and that's all, folks. Bye.